Summary of Notes on Camp by Susan Sontag. Susan Sontag's Notes on Camp, published in 1964, is a foundational essay that explores the elusive and multifaceted concept of camp. Written as a series of aphoristic notes, the essay captures the essence of camp as a sensibility, a mode of aesthetic appreciation, and a cultural phenomenon. Sontag avoids rigid definitions, opting instead for a fragmented and impressionistic exploration of camp's characteristics and its broader implications. Camp as sensibility. Sontag begins by describing camp as a sensibility rather than an ideology or a style. It represents a way of perceiving the world, marked by an appreciation of artifice, exaggeration, and stylization. Camp challenges conventional notions of seriousness, beauty, and taste, offering an alternative aesthetic grounded in irony, playfulness, and theatricality. For Sontag, camp is not about what is traditionally beautiful or good, but about how something is presented and perceived. It values style over content, embracing the extravagant, the excessive, and the artificial. Key characteristics of camp. Sontag outlines several key characteristics of camp. Artifice and theatricality. Camp celebrates the artificial and theatrical aspects of art and life. It values surface, style, and spectacle, often privileging aesthetic over substance. Exaggeration and extravagance. Camp thrives on exaggeration, whether in fashion, behavior, or artistic expression. It is drawn to the over-the-top, the flamboyant, and the ostentatious. Irony and detachment. Camp is inherently ironic, engaging with its objects of appreciation in a detached and playful manner. It does not take itself too seriously, finding humor and charm in the absurd and the exaggerated. Sensibility of failed seriousness. Camp often arises from works or actions that fail to achieve their intended seriousness or gravitas. Sontag describes this as failed seriousness, where the unintentional ridiculousness of a serious effort becomes endearing. Love of the outmoded and the kitsch. Camp embraces what is outdated, tacky, or kitschy, transforming these qualities into objects of fascination. It finds value in things that might otherwise be dismissed as trivial or garish. Androgyny and gender fluidity. Camp often intersects with gender expression, celebrating androgyny, gender fluidity, and performances that subvert traditional gender norms. Drag, for example, exemplifies camp's playful approach to gender. The innocence of camp. Despite its irony, camp retains an element of innocence. It is not purely cynical or mocking but engages with its subjects affectionately, with a sense of wonder and delight. Camp as taste and aesthetic. Sontag describes camp as a particular kind of taste, often associated with queer culture but not exclusive to it. Camp operates on a spectrum of aesthetic appreciation, celebrating both high culture and low culture. It is eclectic, finding beauty and joy in unexpected places. For Sontag, camp is fundamentally a way of seeing the world through an unconventional lens. It redefines beauty, value, and meaning, offering an alternative framework that resists traditional hierarchies of taste. Examples of camp. Throughout the essay, Sontag provides numerous examples to illustrate the camp sensibility. These include Art Nouveau, celebrated for its ornate and theatrical style. Greta Garbo. Her acting and persona embody camp's exaggerated and stylized qualities. Drag performances. A quintessential example of camp's playful engagement with gender and artifice. Hollywood melodramas. Films like Mildred Pierce and All About Eve are noted for their dramatic excess and theatricality. These examples underscore camp's diverse manifestations, spanning fashion, film, theater, and visual arts. Camp and morality. Sontag distinguishes camp from moral seriousness. Camp operates outside the realm of conventional morality, focusing on aesthetics rather than ethics or ideology. It is apolitical, or at least politically ambivalent, and refrains from making moral judgments. Instead, camp celebrates the art of appreciation, prioritizing pleasure and delight over deeper meaning. This lack of moral seriousness, however, does not render camp meaningless. Sontag suggests that camp's refusal to conform to traditional values of seriousness and beauty is itself a radical act, challenging the status quo and expanding the boundaries of artistic expression. Camp as queer sensibility. Although Sontag does not explicitly frame camp as a queer phenomenon, she acknowledges its deep connections to queer culture. Camp has historically been associated with LGBTQ+ communities, particularly as a mode of resistance and self-expression. It allows for the subversion of norms and the creation of alternative spaces for identity and creativity. Camp's affinity for gender fluidity, theatricality, and irony aligns with queer aesthetics, offering a way to navigate and critique dominant cultural narratives. While Sontag avoids reducing camp to any one cultural or political framework, its queer roots are evident throughout her analysis. The limits of camp. Sontag acknowledges that not everything can be camp. For camp to exist, there must be a sense of duality, an interplay between seriousness and irony, authenticity and artifice. Purely earnest or purely frivolous works cannot achieve the complexity of camp. Similarly, works that try too hard to be campy often fail, as camp depends on a delicate balance of intention and reception. She also notes that camp is inherently subjective. What one person perceives as camp, another might view as simply bad or tasteless. This subjectivity underscores the personal and playful nature of the camp sensibility. Conclusion. The value of camp. Sontag concludes by affirming the value of camp as a way of experiencing the world. Camp challenges traditional hierarchies of taste and aesthetics, offering an alternative framework that celebrates creativity, playfulness, and diversity. It expands the boundaries of art and culture, encouraging us to find beauty and meaning in the unexpected and the unconventional. Camp, for Sontag, is not merely an aesthetic or a cultural phenomenon but a way of being in the world. It invites us to embrace artifice, to delight in the theatrical, and to see the world with a sense of irony and wonder. By recognizing the richness and complexity of camp, Sontag elevates it from a niche subculture to a legitimate and valuable mode of aesthetic appreciation.